Gang, I was sitting at a restaurant with a friend whose upbringing, if I were to describe it, it was a rough one. He'd been physically abused by his stepmother. In fact, it had gotten so bad that one night as a kid, his stepmother, she beat him repeatedly with a baseball bat. And his father, he turned a blind eye to it all. And as a result, understandably, he took to drinking, to drugs. He'd have multiple DUIs by the time he was in his early 20s. He even he spent some time in prison. As a married adult with kids, he sat there that day with me at the restaurant. And the truth is, his anger was still palpable. With more profanity than I'll use with you today, he said, "How can you believe in a God who would let that happen to me? Where was your God when I needed him? Where was your Jesus? Your Jesus hasn't done a bit of good for me." I wasn't sure how to respond because I knew that as tragic as his story was, he had what I would call an unrealistic expectations about how God worked. He assumed because he grew up in a home where they went to church and said their prayers that life should be easier than it was, that God should have given him better luck. Now hear me. What his stepmother did to him was unacceptable. It was outrageous. She deserves to be locked up forever. But here's what's hard about God. God never promises that God will bring us good luck. Today I'm wrapping up this series we've called the 5 Dumb Things That Smart Christians Believe. We've been exploring some of the assumptions and the beliefs that sincere, well-meaning, educated, smart Christians like you and like me, that we believe, but they're just not true. They're all things that sort of sound biblical, they sound Christian, but the truth is they aren't. The last one we're going to talk about today is this idea that God brings good luck. Now, likely, you've never said that out loud or heard someone else say it out loud, but we believe it, don't we? It's deeply ingrained in our American consumeristic understanding of life. As Americans, we believe that if I invest in something, I should get something tangible in return. It's like signing up for a membership at a golf club or a gym. Membership always has privileges. There are benefits to membership. And as American Christians, we believe one of the benefits of being Christians is that we should get something in return. God should bring us good luck. Now, my friend's story of abuse is extreme and it's horrible. But the truth is, the family we grow up in, we didn't choose them. In a sense, it's luck. And unfortunately, like my friend, far too many of us have had bad luck when it comes to families we grew up in. When we don't get the luck we believe we're entitled to, what do? We blame God. We're Christians and we're entitled to good luck after all. A silly example of this is the idea that God brings good luck. Happens when you pull into a parking lot. You've done this, and someone jokingly says, "Let's all pray there's an open spot near the front door." Or it happens when you didn't study for that math test. Right there in school, you said a silent little prayer before the test began. Or when you nervously called that girl or that boy to ask them out for the first date, you said a little prayer that he or she would say yes. You see, to varying degrees, we believe that God brings good luck. Sort of like that favorite shirt you wear every time the Minnesota Vikings play. We assume that as Christians, most things should work out for us. But clearly, that's not always how life works. Unfortunately, this idea that God brings good luck is just another one of a long line of spiritual assumptions we make that just aren't true. On the surface, it makes sense. It sounds reasonable. It's what we'd like to believe, but it's simply not true. And here's the deal. There's a good reason why so many of us would assume that being on God's side should bring good luck and success. Mainly because it's hard to fathom why God would sit back and allow nasty things to happen to anyone, better yet, us. I mean, we surely wouldn't allow that to happen if we were God, so why would God allow it? Well, it's no accident that the first story in the Bible, after the story of the Garden of Eden and the fall, is the story of one bad dude, Cain, killing his brother Abel. And he basically gets away with it. It's as if God is trying to tell us right from the very start of the Bible, the story of our faith, that in a fallen world, lots of things are going to happen. Well, they're going to happen not as we expect or as we hope for. Think about it. Jesus even says to us, if you're going to follow me, you've got to count the cost. Jesus knew that on this side of heaven, life isn't always what it's cracked up to be. Jesus knows our fickle tendencies and how quickly we accept the good things God gives us and how quickly we can turn on him when things go wrong, things he didn't cause and had nothing to do with. In John chapter 16, Jesus told us flat out, in this life there will be trouble. You can't avoid it. It's part of life. So here's my invitation. Don't turn God into that good luck charm. God's not that lucky rabbit's foot you used to carry with you everywhere you went, or God's not like the four-leaf clover you found, or that wish you just knew was going to come true when you blew out the candles on your birthday cake. You see, a good luck charm, that's a role God never agreed to play. Instead, God said, I know there's going to be trouble, but I'm going to be with you every step of the way. Even when you walk through the darkest valley, you know who's going to be there? I'm going to be there. You see, as we wrap up this series about the 5 dumb things Christians believe, I want you to consider these final 2 questions. First, prior to hearing today's session, how would you have responded to the suggestion that following God brings good luck? Would you have agreed or disagreed, and why? And secondly, have you or someone you know ever turned on God because life didn't work out as you thought it should? What happened?